So in Romans 10, Paul makes this very clear point that everyone that calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. And by that very thing, his name ain't Jesus. Because everyone that calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. Right? If like cuz there's what 3 billion Christians, and then there's like maybe a billion or so other Muslims, or even more than that are calling on the name Jesus. It's a narrow gate. It's not a broad gate. So Romans 10 verse 1, Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. For they, being ignorant of God's righteousness, the Ten Commandments, and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. For Christ is the end of the law, for righteousness to every one that believeth. For Moses describeth the righteousness which is of the law, that the man which doeth those things shall live by them. But the righteousness which is of faith speaketh on this wise, Say not in thine heart, Who shall ascend into heaven? That is to bring Christ down from above. Or who shall descend into the deep? That is to bring Christ up again from the dead. But what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy faith. That is the word of faith which we preach. And so throughout this whole chapter, he's going to get into what is being preached. That if thou shalt confess covenant with thy mouth the Lord Yeshua, and shalt believe in thy heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. For the Scripture saith, Whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? Because they don't even know his name. And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? Right? The word of faith which we preach. So what is being preached? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace, and bring glad tidings of good things. But then he continues, But they have not all obeyed the gospel. So there's people that have not obeyed the gospel. So it's not just like, oh, just say Jesus and then you're saved. You have to do something. You have to obey something. And so Paul is quoting Isaiah 52, which is what is being preached, and it's telling who is preaching it. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem, loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. For thus saith Jehovah, Ye have sold yourselves for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money. For thus saith Jehovah God, My people went down aforetime unto Egypt, to sojourn there, and the Assyrian oppressed them, without cause. Now therefore, what have I here, saith Jehovah, that my people is taken away for naught? They that rule over them make them to howl, saith Jehovah. And my name continually every day is blasphemed. Right? How shall they know, or how shall they believe on him in whom they have not known? Therefore my people shall know my name. Therefore they shall know in that day that I am he that doth speak. Behold, it is I. Now, how should they preach unless they be sent? Like, who are these preachers that have been sent? But how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of them that bring good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, Thy God reigneth. Thy watchmen shall lift up the voice with the voice together shall they sing, for they shall see eye to eye when Jehovah shall bring again Zion. Those are the people that are bringing the good tidings. That good tidings is the refreshing of the Holy Covenant. Because when you check the Strongs, H1319, it's to be fresh, keeping the Ten Commandments. Romans 10, verse 19. But I say, did not Israel know? For Moses saith, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation will I anger you. And so he's quoting Deuteronomy 32, the new song of Moses. But Isaiah is very bold, and saith, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. But to Israel he saith, all day long I have stretched forth mine hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people. Right, and so how is he made manifest to them that saw him not? And who is this foolish people? And so when we read the New Song of Moses, right, Deuteronomy 32, you see that there's this people that were sold because they went and followed they went into Assyrian captivity, right, the house of Israel, and then they're now being gathered. And so, just reading the first bit of Deuteronomy 32, give ear, O heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. So why is that going to pour out? And like, what is even being poured out? Isaiah 44 tells you exactly what's being poured out. This small rain and this dew. Isaiah 44. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus saith Jehovah, that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring, and they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the water courses. One shall say, I am Jehovah's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Jehovah, and surname himself by the name of Israel. Thus saith Jehovah, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, Jehovah of hosts, I am the first, I am the last, and beside me there is no God. So Deuteronomy 32, because, right, his spirit is gonna pour out, because the watchman will publish the name of Jehovah. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God. He is the rock, whose work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment, a God of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves, their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do ye thus requite Jehovah, O foolish people and unwise? Is not thy Father that hath bought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For Jehovah's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Jacob my servant, Israel mine elect. You see in Matthew 24 that these false Christs and false prophets will deceive the whole world except for the very elect. Jacob is the very elect, the man-child. He found him in the desert land, and in the waste hollowing wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings. So Jehovah alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields. And he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter and kine, and milk of sheep with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape. But Jeshurun, the same person that we saw in Isaiah 44, but Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook God which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods, with abominations provoked they him to anger. And so these abominations, it's doing pagan idolatry like Christmas and Easter, but it's also going and doing his feast profanely. Right? Both are abominations. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God to whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat thee, thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten God that formed thee. When Jehovah saw it, he abhorred them, because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. And so you see what Yeshua does when it's the Feast of Tabernacles. He hides himself from them, and you don't want God or His Son, right? You don't want them to be hiding themselves from you. And so he hid himself because their feast was an abomination, because they weren't doing it on the correct day, and he doesn't delight in these sacrifices and burnt offerings. He wants them to obey his voice and keep his covenant, to tell others to stop sinning, to keep the Ten Commandments. But what do they leave off? Judgment, mercy, and faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, and the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also and the man of gray hairs. I said, I would scatter them unto the corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Right, so what happened? The house of Israel was scattered amongst the Gentiles, and they forgot their identity. And then so they spring up like out of the grass, because God's Spirit is poured upon them. They spring out of the grass, and some surname themselves as Jacob and Israel, and I'm the Lord's. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, Our hand is high, and Jehovah hath not done all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. Their latter end. You see this time and time again. Deuteronomy 4, you see Deuteronomy 4, Jeremiah 23, the latter end. You're going to consider this perfectly in the latter days. And that's these days, right? After 2,000 years, Yeshua returns. And that 2,000 years is right around the corner. How should one chase 1,000, and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them, and Jehovah had shut them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being their judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons, and the cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me, and sealed among my treasures? To me belong the vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. For Jehovah shall judge his people, and repent himself for his servants, when he seeth that their power is gone, and there is none shut up or left. And he shall say, where are their gods, and the rock in whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices, and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them rise up and help you, and be your protection. See now that I, even I, am he. There is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven, and say, I live forever. If I whet my glittering sword, and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies, and reward them that hate me. And those that hate him are those that make a graven image. These crosses, these crucifixes, these Christmas trees, it's all about these things. I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives, from the beginning of revenges upon the enemy. Rejoice, O ye nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants. The servants rebuke sin. They enter into the work of the prophets, they reap what they have sown, and together they rejoice. And will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his land and to his people. And Moses came and spake all the words of this song in the ears of the people. He and Hoshea, the son of Nun, and Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel. And so then go read all the places where Deuteronomy 32 is quoting. But I just wanted to record a quick one regarding this Romans 10 and Isaiah 52 stuff.